They only feel your silence when they can no longer feed off your presence. Folks, let me hit you with something straight out of the gate. The moment you ignore them is the moment they can't ignore you. That's the twist nobody sees coming. You stop texting, stop checking in, stop trying to remind them you exist, and suddenly they start wondering where you went, what you're thinking, who you're with. Funny, isn't it? They didn't care when you were there, but now that you're quiet, you're haunting them. So before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what we're about to unpack is going to shift how you see silence, how you see ignoring, and how you take your power back without saying a single word. Hey my friends, imagine this. You're a fireplace in the middle of winter. When you were burning bright, they never thanked you for the warmth. They sat near, took the heat, enjoyed the glow, but never once stopped to ask what it cost you to keep burning. And the second you go cold, now they're shivering, looking around, missing what they never appreciated. That's what happens when you pull back your attention. When you stop lighting their world, they finally notice the darkness they once ignored. You see, most people don't realize the value of your energy until you remove it. They confuse your kindness with neediness, your consistency with desperation, your love with weakness. And that's the lie. That silence means defeat. That if you ignore them, you're giving up. No, you're not giving up. You're leveling up. You're letting your absence speak the words your presence couldn't. They thought your attention was free, that they could disappear, come back, breadcrumb you, waste your time, and you'd still be there, always waiting, always available, always one message away from crumbling. But now you've gone quiet, and that silence? It's a damn earthquake in their mind, a loud scream wrapped in nothingness. Every second you don't reply is another moment they realize what they lost. And let's be real, they were never afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing your attention, your validation, your energy. But when you go silent, when you stop reacting, you rob them of their favorite addiction, your presence. You stop being the entertainer in their show, you step off the stage, and now the spotlight feels empty without you. They might act unbothered, they might post, they might flirt, they might even ignore you back. But trust me, when you ignore them with purpose, you own the room without even walking in. You become mystery, you become power, you become the one they think about in quiet moments when the noise dies down. So no, you're not being petty, you're not being immature, you're being wise. You're protecting your peace. You're showing them that your attention is not a free buffet, it's earned. And if they couldn't value it when they had it, they'll feel the cost of it when it's gone. So here's your affirmation for today, my friends. My silence is powerful. Write it in the comments right now. Type it, say it, own it. Let the world know you're done explaining, done chasing, done being easy to reach for those who were never serious about holding on. Because silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's self-respect, and it's the beginning of the plot twist they never saw coming. So stay with me, my friends, because we're just getting started. The power of indifference. The moment you stop caring is the moment they start. Let's break the illusion right here. You were never powerless. You were just too emotionally available to someone who was never emotionally invested. And now here you are, battling the guilt of ignoring them, wondering, am I being too harsh? What if they think I don't care? What if they forget me? But pause. Take a breath, because the truth is your silence isn't cruelty, it's clarity, and it's the very thing they never expected from you. Imagine a radio station that used to blast 24/7, always on, always available. Then one day, silence. Static, nothing. The listeners freak out. They twist the dial, refresh the app. They panic. Why? Because we take presence for granted until it's gone. You were that constant frequency in their life, the dependable message, the warmth they didn't value. And now that you've gone silent, they're feeling the void that once felt like a given. Here's where the shift begins. Most people think that being silent means you're losing your voice. But silence is not the absence of communication. It's the beginning of a different one, a deeper one where your lack of reaction becomes the only thing they can hear. Because when you ignore someone who's used to your attention, you're not being passive. You're flipping the power dynamic without ever raising your voice. Let me ask you something. How many times did you over-explain yourself? How many times did you try to fix what they kept breaking? You gave kindness, you gave consistency, you gave love, and they gave you confusion, excuses, mixed signals. And now, when you finally decide to say nothing, they suddenly start noticing everything. That's not coincidence. That's psychological balance being restored. But here's what makes it hard. Deep down, you're not just afraid they'll forget you. You're afraid that being silent will make you invisible, that they'll move on and never look back, that you'll be punished for setting a boundary. But let me break that lie. People don't forget presence. They remember what haunts them. And the absence of your energy, your laughter, your care, that haunts. That's what keeps people up at night. Not the person who stayed, but the one who stopped trying. You see, when you keep talking, they keep tuning out. But when you go silent, they're forced to listen to the echo you left behind. It's in the empty inbox, the quiet timeline, the missing good morning that used to be automatic. Suddenly the background music stops and the silence becomes deafening. And now they can't ignore what they used to dismiss. That's the beauty of indifference. It makes you the question mark in their story, the cliffhanger that doesn't resolve, the what if they can't shake. Because the truth is, no one obsesses over the person who stayed. They obsess over the one who disappeared without explanation. And listen, I know why you're hesitating. You're kind. You're empathetic. You don't want to be cold. But this isn't about being cold. This is about being clear. You've poured enough of your energy into people who treated you like a temporary fix. It's time to stop bleeding for those who never cared if you were bleeding in the first place. Indifference is not the absence of love. It's the presence of self-respect. It's looking at the people who took you for granted and saying, I won't give you the version of me that you couldn't even appreciate. And in that moment, you stop being the chaser and you become the one they chase. So, here's what I want you to do. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is not weakness, it's power. Let it be your reminder. Say it out loud. Type it. With purpose. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to stop speaking to the wrong people. And stay with me because next we're diving into the uncomfortable truth about what happens when you make yourself too available. Why being always there makes them treat you like you're nowhere. What's coming next will shift everything. When you're always available, you're invisible. If they can reach you anytime, they'll value you at no time. Let's not sugarcoat it. Being too available makes them blind to your value. You think showing up consistently proves your love. You think replying fast shows how much you care. You think always being there will one day make them realize just how solid, how rare, how loyal you are. But instead of seeing your heart, they start seeing you as a guarantee, a backup, an afterthought. My friends, let me break something to you real quick. Nothing valuable is ever too easy to access. Think about it. Diamonds aren't lying around. On sidewalks, gold isn't found in kitchen drawers. Why? Because the more rare something is, the more it's respected. But here you are, emotionally on call like a 24-hour convenience store. Always open. Always ready. Always replying even after being ignored. And guess what? That kind of access makes them forget your worth. Imagine this. You're a lighthouse, a bright, blazing beam in the darkest storm. You've been guiding their ship every time they drifted off course, but here's the thing. They stopped respecting the light. They started assuming it would always be there until one day the lighthouse turns off. Not because it's broken, but because it finally realized no one was actually docking, just passing, just watching, just using its light without ever intending to come home. You keep thinking consistency will earn you love, but let's be real. It hasn't. If anything, it's taught them that no matter how badly they treat you, no matter how long they disappear, no matter how many times they go cold, you'll still be there, waiting, texting, hoping. That's not loyalty. That's self-betrayal dressed as patience. They don't see your effort anymore because they expect it. They don't cherish your presence because it never left. And this is where the lie hurts the most. Society told you that being always available was noble, That if you keep showing up, they'll finally get it, finally choose you, finally change. But let me say it plain. You're not teaching them love. You're teaching them entitlement. And here's why it's so hard to stop. Because deep down, you're afraid that the moment you pull back, they'll forget you. That your silence will push them further away. That detachment will kill the last sliver of hope you've been clinging to. But the truth? They forgot you the moment they realized they could have you without showing up. They stopped appreciating your messages when they learned you'd always send another. And they stopped trying the second they realized they didn't have to. That's why pulling back isn't petty. It's powerful. Because distance forces reflection. When you stop being readily available, you break the pattern. You create space. You make them feel your absence. And trust me, silence backed by self-respect shakes people more than paragraphs ever could. Ask yourself, do they deserve front row seats in your life if they never clapped for your presence? Do they deserve daily check-ins if they can't respond with effort? Do they deserve your emotional labor if they're only giving you laziness in return? Let this sink in. You are not a convenience. You are not a placeholder. You are not a permanent option for someone still deciding. You are the standard, the experience, the rare energy that should never be taken lightly. And if someone doesn't, see that your job isn't to convince them, it's to remove yourself. They will only start to notice when you stop trying, when the good morning stops coming, when the likes stop appearing, when the double texts go silent. That's when it hits. That's when they realize the emotional buffet is closed, that your attention is no longer free, that the version of you who used to care too much is no longer on the menu. So here's your affirmation for today. I am not always available because I am not always appreciated. Write it in the comments, claim it, own it, let them see it, let you see it. Because the moment you start valuing your availability, the world learns to do the same. And stay with me because next we're going even deeper into the currency of attention. Why every message, every reply, every emotional investment is feeding them more than you realize, and how to starve their ego and feed your soul instead. Attention is energy, and they've been feeding off yours. Every time you text them first, you're handing them your power on a silver platter. Let's talk straight, folks. Your attention is not free. It costs you time, energy, emotion, peace. But here's the brutal truth. They've been feasting on it like it's a buffet, and you didn't even notice. They weren't bringing anything to the table. You keep checking in, liking their posts, sending those just thinking of you messages, and every time you do, they get a little more full, and you get a little more drained. Let's paint the picture. Imagine your attention is a spotlight. Wherever it shines, it brings warmth, clarity, focus. But here's the thing. Some people will stand in your light just long enough to feel important, only to walk away the second they get what they came for. You shine the light and they soak it up. But do they ever reflect it back? Do they ever point it your way when you need it? Or are you just their personal flashlight when they're feeling bored, insecure, or lonely? This is what nobody tells you. Attention is emotional currency. And if you keep spending it on people who never invest back, you'll end up bankrupt in all the ways that matter: empty inbox, empty energy, empty self-worth. And still you'll be telling yourself, maybe I just need to give a little more. No, that's the trap, that's the lie. The more you give, the less they respect it, because they're not hungry for your heart. They're addicted to your attention, to the hit of validation they get when you reach out, to the ego boost that comes when they see your name pop up. And the moment you stop feeding it, they get withdrawals. They start wondering where you went, why you're not responding, why your light suddenly stopped shining their way. But here's what makes it so difficult to stop. You've convinced yourself that being consistent is how you prove your love, that reaching out first means you're strong enough to lead, that your attention is a gift you have to keep giving in order to matter. But let's flip it. Would you keep pouring water into a glass with a hole in the bottom? Would you keep fueling a car that never drives you anywhere? Of course not. Then why do you keep giving emotional energy to someone who never moves forward with it? You're afraid, I get it. You're scared that if you pull back, they'll forget you, that if you stop texting, they'll find someone else, that if you go silent, the connection will die. But here's the thing. If they forget you that easily, then your presence never really mattered to them in the first place. You weren't in a relationship. You were in a one-sided attention loop where you kept giving and they kept taking. And let me remind you, you are not a charger for someone's dying battery. You are not an ego support hotline. You are not an emotional vending machine. You are a whole experience, a vibe, a presence that should be respected, not used. Because attention, when misdirected, becomes your enemy. It keeps you tied to people who are no longer serving your soul. It keeps you emotionally starving while they get fat on your consistency. And one day you wake up wondering why you're so tired, so numb, so hollow. And it's because you spent every ounce of yourself trying to keep them full while you ran on, empty. So let me ask you something straight. What would happen if you stopped feeding their ego? If you stopped reacting to their breadcrumbs, stopped watching their stories, stopped showing up uninvited? I'll tell you what happens. They notice. They feel it. The silence screams louder than any paragraph you ever sent, because when you take your energy back, they lose their supply. That's why today you make a decision. You stop handing out your attention like candy on Halloween. You stop giving emotional energy to people who wouldn't lift a finger for yours. You stop being the charger for their phone when they never even ask if your battery's running low. Your attention is power, it's sacred. And from now on, it's expensive. Not everyone gets access. Not everyone gets a reply. Not everyone deserves your light. Because if they never gave you peace when they had your presence, then they sure as hell don't deserve your energy now. So here's your affirmation for today. My attention is power. I choose where it flows. Write it in the comments. Type it. Say it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you've closed the emotional ATM. No more withdrawals without deposits. And stay with me, because next we're going deep into the mind. What happens inside them when you stop responding? When you go quiet, when you disappear, the silence they used to enjoy becomes the echo they can't escape. And you're about to learn exactly why. When you disappear, their mind starts speaking. Loudly, your silence becomes the conversation they replay when no one else is speaking. Let's cut through the noise. When you disappear, something dangerous happens to them, not to you. You think you're the one feeling the loss. You think your silence is just a quiet exit. But in their mind, your silence is a scream, a haunting, a ghost that follows them into every room, into every moment of stillness, every notification they check hoping it's you, only to be met with nothing. You were the voice, the warmth, the constant heartbeat they never learned to appreciate. And now that heartbeat is gone. You've gone quiet, and suddenly the noise in their head begins. The thoughts they never had to face when you were always filling the space, now they're front and center. Every memory you gave them becomes sharper. Every good morning they took for granted becomes heavier. Every message they ignored now echoes. Picture this. You're in a room with someone, music playing, laughter bouncing off the walls. It feels good. But the moment you leave, it goes silent. They're still in the same room, same space, but now it feels empty. Because it wasn't the room that felt like home, it was you. And that's what they're sitting with now. Your absence has turned into their mirror. They see themselves clearly now. And what they see? It's not pretty. Because when someone who once made them feel seen, heard, loved, disappears without begging, without explaining, without noise, that silence becomes uncomfortable. It becomes guilt, confusion, wonder, fear. And it's all happening without you saying a word. But let me guess, you still feel like you're the one who's losing, right? That pulling away means defeat. That silence means surrender. That ignoring them will push them away for good. But hear this truth loud and clear. If your silence is the only thing that finally gets their attention, they never deserved your words to begin with. They were comfortable, not committed. They were entertained, not invested. They liked the idea of you always being there until you weren't. And now their mind starts playing tricks on them. Why haven't they messaged? Did I go too far? Are they talking to someone else? That little ego they were so proud of, now it's starving. That's the beauty of disappearing without drama, without slamming doors, without one last emotional explosion. Because peace disturbs people who are addicted to chaos. And when you stop playing the game, they start to feel the emptiness of the field. No more opponent, no more back and forth, just them sitting in silence, facing the reality that the one who truly cared left, without looking back. But I know why it's hard. You think disappearing makes you look like you lost, like you gave up. But no, my friend, you grew up. You realized your energy isn't a performance, your love isn't a punishment, and your silence isn't weakness. It's a mirror that forces people to see what they've done. And if they don't reflect, if your silence doesn't bother them at all, good, that's your answer. Because someone who feels nothing when you go quiet never deserved the sound of your voice in the first place. Let them sit with that. You're not punishing them. You're just choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation, power over pleading. And the moment you realize that, you stop being the chaser and become the consequence, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. They once had the privilege of your presence. Now they're stuck with the memory of what it felt like and the realization that they'll never feel it again. That's the pain silence brings. It's not the loud kind, it's not the aggressive kind, but it's the realest kind because it lives in their thoughts, not their ears. So, here's your affirmation for today. My silence speaks for me. Write it in the comments. Let it echo. Let it land. Let the world know you've stopped explaining yourself to people who never listened. You are no longer performing. You are no longer proving. You are simply gone. And stay with me because next we're entering a whole new level. What happens when your silence doesn't just shake them, it turns you into a mystery. The one they can't understand, can't access, can't replace. That's where we're headed. Don't blink. You become a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. When they can no longer read you, they start rereading every moment you gave them. Let's talk about the part they never saw coming, the part that truly messes with their mind. It's not just that you walked away. It's not just that you stopped texting. It's not even that you went silent. It's that now they can't figure you out anymore. And that, my friends, is the beginning of obsession. See, people don't chase clarity. They chase confusion. They chase uncertainty, they chase the unsolved. And when you were an open book, when you always explained yourself, when you always replied, when you always showed them what page you were on, they stopped reading. They skimmed. They skipped chapters. They took you for granted. But now you've closed the book. You've walked off the stage mid-scene. You've removed the map and left them wandering in the plot they never cared to understand until it was too late. And guess what? Mystery is magnetic. When they can't predict you, they start missing you. When they don't know how you feel, they start feeling for the first time. Imagine you're a movie they thought they had figured out. Predictable, easy, a love story they assumed they could pause, rewind, skip, and return to when convenient. But now the screen's gone black. No ending, no closure, no credits rolling. And suddenly they want to know everything they ignored, every little detail, every scene they overlooked. That's what happens when you stop giving them emotional access. But here's the twist, it wasn't your mystery that changed. It was your behavior. You always had depth, you were always layered, complex, rich in emotion. They just didn't care to dig deep when you were so easy to reach. But now that you've gone quiet, now that you've pulled your energy inward, they're realizing how much they never really knew you at all. And let me guess, part of you still wonders, will this work? Will ignoring them actually make them care? But that's not even the point. The point is you're finally caring about you. You've stopped narrating your value to people who only ever saw subtitles. You've stopped being loud for people who were never listening. And that silence, that withdrawal, it's not just distance, it's elevation. Because you're no longer emotionally available for confusion, no longer showing up just to be misunderstood, no longer breaking yourself down into bite-sized explanations for someone who couldn't stomach your full truth. You're a mystery now, and they don't know what to do with that. They used to be able to press your buttons, get a response. But now there's no response, no cues, no signs. Just the question, what are they thinking? Did they move on? Did I matter at all? And suddenly all those moments they brushed off, they start replaying them in their mind like a broken record. That's what silence does. It leaves space, and that space becomes a mirror, a movie, a memory. One they can't stop watching. But I get it. I know the fear. You're afraid that being silent makes you forgettable, that becoming a mystery makes them stop caring. But let me remind you, people don't chase what they understand. They chase what they regret. They chase what they can't control. And when you go quiet, you become something they can't decode. You are no longer the predictable message in their inbox. You are no longer the safe, known comfort zone. You've become an enigma. And trust me, an enigma stays in their mind longer than an explanation ever could. So today, you walk in that mystery. You stop trying to make yourself easy to understand. You stop oversharing, over-explaining, over-giving. Because someone who values you doesn't need a manual. They don't need a script. They just show up, stay present, and try to learn you with respect. Here's your affirmation for today. I am the mystery they should have cherished. Write it in the comments. Let it be a declaration. Say it, type it, own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer trying to be readable. You're focused on being real. And stay with me, because next we're flipping the script even more. You're about to see what happens when you stop leaning in and they start leaning forward. When the hunter becomes the hunted. Don't miss what's coming next. The more you pull back, the more they lean in. Distance doesn't push people away. It shows you who's willing to walk toward you. Let's get one thing straight. Pulling back isn't giving up. It's waking up. It's choosing peace over confusion, self-worth over validation. It's finally realizing that if they wanted to keep you close, they'd have met you halfway a long time ago. But here's the twist they never expected. The more you pull away, the more they lean in. The more silent you become, the louder their curiosity grows. The more unavailable you are, the more they start questioning what they thought was guaranteed. You see, they were never afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing the version of you that kept trying, kept texting, kept caring, even when they gave nothing back. They didn't think you'd ever stop, because people get comfortable with your effort when it doesn't cost them anything. And when you finally stop knocking on the door, that's when they notice it's quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that echoes through their ego and shakes the foundation of their false sense of control. Imagine this. A magnet doesn't chase. It simply pulls. The closer something gets, the stronger the force. But pull it away, and that tension builds, that gravity grows, that attraction intensifies. And suddenly the object that once didn't care about closeness is being dragged toward it. That's how energy works, that's how psychology works, and that's how emotional gravity works too. They used to be able to feel your presence like background music. Always there, always playing, always comforting. But now the music's off, and guess what? They miss the song, the melody they never danced to, the rhythm they ignored, and now they're searching for that sound again, but you're gone. And now they lean in, they rewind, they wonder, did I mess up? Did I push them too far? Why aren't they reaching out anymore? The questions start flooding in because you stopped giving them answers. You think your silence is making them forget you, but the truth is it's making you unforgettable, because every time they go to check their phone, every time they scroll past that old photo, every time they see a song that reminds them of you and you still haven't reached out, that absence cuts deeper than any words you could have sent. Your silence is discipline, and discipline makes noise in the minds of those who underestimated you. But here's what makes it hard. You've been conditioned to chase, to fix, to prove. Society taught you that love means effort, that the one who cares more fights harder, that if you just try a little longer, they'll come around. But let me be brutally honest. If you keep chasing, you block their path back to you. They can't miss what's always there. They can't value what never left. They can't lean in if you're already leaning all the way. So what happens when you finally stop? When you stop explaining, stop justifying, stop texting just to stay relevant, that's when they feel it. Not because you said something, but because you didn't. That's when the dynamic flips. That's when your energy, now held back, becomes the most powerful presence in the room, even in your absence. They won't admit it right away. They might act like they don't care, post more, party harder, laugh louder, but it's all noise to distract from the silence you left behind. Because eventually that noise dies down, and all they're left with is the echo of your last moment together in the space where your energy used to live. That's why pulling back isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's how you rebuild your power without revenge. It's how you create space without drama. It's how you become the lesson they never expected to learn. And if they do come back, they'll come correct. They'll come humbled. And if they don't, you just made room for someone who actually knows how to show up in the first place. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence makes space for truth. Write it in the comments. Claim it. Speak it. Let it ring through the timeline, through your mind, through your soul. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you don't chase, you attract. And when your energy pulls back, the ones meant for you will lean in. Stay with me, my friends, because what's next is going to break the biggest lie you've been told. That ignoring someone is cruel. We're about to expose the truth why silence isn't punishment. It's protection. And that shift, that's where your power really begins. Ignoring isn't cruel. It's clarity. Not responding doesn't make you heartless. It makes you healed. Let's stop pretending that silence is cruel. Let's stop buying the lie that if you ignore them, you're being cold, heartless, or immature. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Ignoring isn't cruel. It's clarity. It's the clearest message you can send without saying a single word. It's the line in the sand that says, I'm no longer available for confusion, inconsistency, or emotional scraps. The real cruelty? That was the way they treated your presence like it was disposable. That was the way they showed up when it was convenient and vanished when it required effort. That was them making you feel like you had to fight to be seen, to be heard, to matter. And now that you're quiet, suddenly you're the villain? Please, you're not being mean, you're being done. Imagine this. You're the host of a 5-star restaurant. For weeks you've been serving someone your best meals. Gourmet attention, premium loyalty, 5-star devotion. And how do they treat it? Like fast food. No gratitude, no effort, no return, just in and out when they're hungry. So one day you lock the doors. No shouting, no drama, just closed. And they show up again expecting service, but now the lights are off and the kitchen's empty. That's not cruelty, that's a boundary. You're not ignoring them to punish them, you're ignoring them to preserve you. Because every time you replied after being dismissed, you shrank. Every time you checked in after being left on red, you told your self-worth to sit down and wait. And now you've had enough. You finally realize that you don't need to explain your silence to someone who never respected your voice. But I know it still hurts. The silence isn't just theirs, it's yours too. And in the stillness your mind plays tricks. What if I'm being too harsh? What if they're hurting too? What if they come back but I've pushed them away for good? My friend, let me tell you, if your silence is what breaks them, they were never built for you in the first place. Because the right people, they don't need 10 chances. They don't need breadcrumb reminders. They don't need guilt-tripping games or ego boosts to remember your value. They show up, they communicate, they reciprocate. And if someone disappears, every time you stop talking, that means your presence was their comfort, not your character. Let's be real for a second. The world wants you to feel guilty for protecting your peace, especially when your peace disrupts someone else's comfort. But boundaries are not cruelty. Detachment is not punishment, and silence is the highest form of emotional intelligence. It says, I love myself more than I love explaining to you why you don't value me. And here's the part they'll never admit. The moment you went silent, they started paying attention. Maybe not out loud, maybe not publicly, but mentally, emotionally, they're replaying, rethinking, reevaluating. Not because you begged, not because you explained, but because you didn't. And in that void, they finally started seeing what they lost. That's the power of stillness. That's the power of no response. And if they don't notice, if they never text again, if they disappear and never look back, good. That means the trash took itself out. That means you dodged another loop of emotional gymnastics. That means your silence did exactly what it was supposed to do. Protect your sanity. So no, you're not cruel for not responding. You're not rude for choosing not to engage. You're not wrong for removing access to your energy. You're wise, you're healing. You're learning that your peace costs too much to give it away for free. And let me make this loud and clear. You don't owe anyone closure who gave you chaos. You don't owe a response to someone who only ever responded to their own convenience. And you definitely don't owe continued access to someone who didn't value your presence when it was a gift. You owe yourself protection, peace, power. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence is not punishment, it's protection. Write it in the comments right now. Let the world know that you are done apologizing for healing. Say it, type it, claim it. My silence is not punishment, it's protection. And if this message hits something deep inside you like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it and subscribe, because the next chapter of this story, it's going to shake the ground you walk on. We're diving into how silence not only protects you but transforms you, how it becomes your shield, your strategy, and your comeback story.